So I welcome everybody to the third and final lecture of Network Theory Basics. So for simple combinations of resistances like this, we can directly get the equivalent resistance as R1 plus R2. Or for example, if the resistances are in parallel, we can directly get the equivalent resistance as R1 into R2 upon R1 plus R2. Similarly for inductor and capacitor cases. But sometimes some special cases arise where we need to apply some different rules. And what are those special cases? Let's see. So in this case, as you can see, this kind of circuit is called a T network. This can be made like this. And this kind of network is called a pi network. And this can also be rearranged like this. So the upper one is called a star network and the lower one is called a delta network. As it is very clear from the shapes why we are calling them as a star and delta network. So now I have drawn both the star and delta circuits at the same time. So we can directly convert these values RA, RB and RC into the form of R1, R2 and R3 and vice versa using the following formulas. So these are the formulas for delta to star and star to delta conversion. The definition for these formulas you can get very easily on any book or on the internet. So we are not going to go for the derivation, but I will give you a very easy method to learn these formulas. So for example, if you are going for delta to star, if you want to find this resistance R1, you just multiply these two neighbors of this R1 like RA and RB, and it will go into the numerator, and in denominator all the three resistances of the delta resistances will be added. Similarly, if you want to see for R3, where is R3? Here. So in the numerator, the two neighbors RA and RC will multiply here, and in the denominator you add all the resistances. Similarly, for the star to delta conversion, you can learn it very easily. In the numerator, you are going to add all the multiplication combination of the star resistances like R1, R2, R2, R3 and R3, R1. And in the denominator, you see, if you want to find the value of resistance RA, you will put just opposite resistance of the star network, which is R2 in the denominator. So for example, if you want to find the value of RC, in the denominator will be going the R1 resistance here, you see. So this is a simple method to learn star to delta and delta to star transformation. Now similarly for the inductor and capacitor cases, the star delta transformation for inductor case will be exactly similar as the resistance. I'm just writing the formula for one of the resistances for star to delta and delta to star transformation. In the capacitor case, the things will just be opposite. Like if you want to calculate the star value of C1, then you have to take the reciprocal. Just in case of C1, the formula will be exactly the same. You just have to take the reciprocal of all the elements. So in place of C1, you will be calculating 1 by C1 is equal to 1 by CA into 1 by CB, and like that. So the rest of the formula will be remaining exactly the same. Only the values will be reciprocated. Now here we see a delta network in which inductors and capacitors are given, but the values which are written here are not in the form of inductance or capacitance. These are actually in the form of impedance values. So the formula for which we used for resistance, the same formula will be used for impedance. So I hope you must be knowing this iota terms. This you can say it I or J. So this J3 and minus J3. So you must have studied sometime in your first year that the value for resistance is a real value, but for a inductance value of L, its impedance will be j omega L, where omega is the angular frequency, and for capacitance it will be minus j upon omega c. So you see that minus j term comes in the impedance value of the capacitor, and plus j term comes in the impedance value of the inductor. So anyway, let's move to solve this question. So to calculate the equivalent star network and its corresponding impedance values, we will first draw a star network here like this. So let's call this as Z1, this as Z2, and this as Z3. So remember the formula for star network or delta to star conversion. This Z1 will be equal to the multiplication of two neighbors of Z1, which are J3 into J3 divided by summation of the all the values. So J3 plus J3 minus J3. So what do we have? What is the multiplication of two iotas? It is obviously minus 1. So we get minus 9 because 3 into 3 is 9 divided by J3. So if we put our J on in the denominator, this minus sign will go and we will have, this will be J3. So we get our Z1 value as J3. Just wait a minute. So similarly, I have written the values for Z2 and Z3 also. So now if we draw this circuit, this J3, which is the value of Z1, is basically, since this is plus J, it will be an inductor. So we can draw it as an inductor whose value is J3. And then you see that Z2 and Z3 are negative J3 values. So since this is negative, this will be capacitors. So Z2 will be one capacitor and Z3 will be another capacitor whose values will be minus J3 minus J3. So in certain circuits, it is very convenient to convert voltage sources to current sources and vice versa. So if a voltage source, rather a practical voltage source or a current source is given, we can transform them into each other. Like first, if we take a case of a voltage source, which is a practical voltage source, whose internal resistance is Rs, voltage is Vs. So if you want to convert it into a practical current source, so what you do is you just short circuit this its outer terminals, and you will assume there is a current Is which is flowing through it. So what will be the value of Is? Is will be definitely equal to Vs upon Rs. So the transformed current source will be like this. There will be a current source and a resistance, internal resistance in parallel. The value of this internal resistance will be exactly the same as this Rs, and this value will be this value, Is value. So this voltage source in series with Rs can be directly converted to this current source in parallel with Rs. So these two sources will be working exactly the same in any given circuit. And similarly, if we do it vice versa, if we have a current source whose value is Is and a resistance Rs is in parallel, so if we want to convert it into a voltage source, what we will do is we will calculate the open circuit voltage across this current source, which I will say as Vs. So what will the value of Vs? Vs will be equal to, obviously, since this is open circuit, this whole current will be going into this loop. So the voltage drop across Rs will be equal to Vs, which is Is into Rs. We just learned about KVL and Ohm's law. So if we want to convert this current source into voltage source, we will have a voltage source with an internal resistance which will exactly be equal to Rs, and the voltage value Vs will be equal to nothing but Is into Rs. So this is source transformation. So in this circuit, we see that there is an ideal diode and we have to find current through this ideal diode. But before finding the value of current through this diode, let's say it is I, we have to know whether this diode is in forward bias or reverse bias. So this is the P side of the diode and this is the N side of diode, and we have to make sure that if the current has to be flowing through this diode, this P side should be more positive than this N side. But in the current circuit arrangement, we see that there is a current source and the voltage across it is not known. And here, since even if there is a voltage source, there is also a resistance in parallel. So finding the value of voltage here, it would be easier if we use source transformation to convert this and this whole current, this whole sources into this one into the current source first and this one into the voltage source, and then we will see how we can solve it so that we find voltages at here and here in order to decide whether this diode will be in forward bias or not. So let's first go with this source. So this is a voltage source of 10 volt in series with 4 ohm. So what will be the short circuit current? The I value for this one will be 10 by 4 is equal to 2.5 ampere. So this source can be replaced as a current source of 2.5 ampere in series with, in parallel with 4 ohm resistance. Similarly, we want to convert this current source into a voltage source. So the value of Vs will be equal to, what will be the value? The current multiplied by the resistance, which is 2 into 1 is equal to 2 volt. So this can be converted to a voltage source, which is of value 2 volt in series with 1 ohm resistor. And since the current is going upward, the direction of the positive voltage of the voltage source will also be upward. So we can draw this circuit as like this. You just see that the current source direction is upward because here the positive voltage was upward, and we already know that if a source has to deliver, sorry, if the source has to deliver, the current should be going upward from the voltage source, the positive terminal of the voltage source. So here we can put this current source in place of that voltage source. Its value will be 2.5 ampere. There will be a resistance in parallel whose value will be 4 ohm. So this whole arm from A to B is converted into this A to B, and this old 4 ohm can be kept in parallel like this. And what will happen to this? We can convert it in a voltage source of 2 volt in series with 1 ohm. So this will be like this. Right? So now we know that there is a 2 volt here on the N side of this diode. To get the voltage here, we must again convert this whole thing into a voltage source. So before converting this, we have to merge these two 4 ohm resistance into one. And what will be the value of two 4 ohm resistance in parallel? In parallel combination, they will come out to be 2 ohm. So for those who don't know, if similar resistances, same value resistances are in parallel, if they are 2, their resistance value, equivalent resistance value will be halved. If they are 3, it will be 1/3 and so on. So this circuit can be made like this. So we have this current source of 2.5 ohm, 2.5 ampere. Then these equivalent resistances will become 2 ohm. Then our diode, and again this 2 volt source and 1 ohm resistance. Now here again we came back to the same situation. We have to convert this current source into a voltage source so as to get the idea whether this point will be more positive than this point or not. Now from here we see that the value of Vs will definitely be equal to the value of current 2.5 into the value of resistance. So 2.5 into 2 is equal to 5 volt, and obviously the RS value will be 2 ohm itself. So this circuit can again be converted into this. Now you can see that there are two voltage sources, one of 5 volt and another of 2 volt. This one is providing a 2 volt at the N terminal of this diode, and this one is providing a 5 volt at the P terminal of this diode. So can you guess which the diode will be in forward bias or reverse bias? Definitely, because since this 5 volt is providing more positive voltage towards this end of the diode, this diode will definitely be a forward bias. And since this diode is a ideal diode, we can assume it as a short circuit when forward bias. And now we can directly calculate our current. So how to calculate the current? You just apply KVL in this loop. So we already talked, we will start from a point here and then we will move through all the loop and add all the voltages to find the current value. So from here, if we start, we will have plus 5 volt. Since this current is flowing and when the current flows through a resistor, there is a voltage drop. So this voltage drop will be, what will the value of voltage drop? The current I multiplied by 2 ohm. So it will be minus, since it is dropping from plus to minus, we will take the minus sign. So it will be minus 2I. Again, the diode is short circuit, there will be no drop. And since current is entering here, it will again be a drop minus 1I. And then this is also a drop since we are going from plus to minus. So it will be minus 2 is equal to 0. So from here we can easily see that 5 minus 2, 3 is equal to 3I, which means I is equal to 1 ampere. So through diode, there will be a 1 ampere current flowing. So mesh and nodal analysis are the two techniques to solve for the voltage and current values in any given circuit. Uh, Here in the mesh analysis, what we do is we divide any circuit into multiple meshes or loops like this. And then we solve KVL equation in each of these loops. And then we solve these equations to find our voltage and current values. But one thing is important to note in mesh analysis, that the circuit should be planar. And what does planar means? It can be drawn in a single plane, which means no branch of the circuit should be jumping from the circuit. Like it can be drawn in a same plane. So for example, if you see this circuit, you can imagine, or you can have the idea that this particular branch is jumping over this particular branch. This branch is jumping over this branch and going through this. So you can say that, sir, this is not planar. But if I stretch this branch like this, so this same branch can be stretched outside like this and connected like this. So in this image, this is exactly what we have done. So this circuit becomes planar. So you don't need to jump this particular branch over any branch, and it can be drawn into planar. So this, even if this particular diagram looks like non-planar, it is a planar because it can be redrawn in single plane. But if you see this example, what you see here is this particular branch and this particular branch have to cross each other in any way, because you don't want this branch to touch this branch. It has to jump this one. Branch number 1 has to jump this branch number 2 in any case. So there is no way you can draw these both these branches into the same plane. So this kind of a circuit is called non-planar circuit, and you cannot apply mesh analysis on this. So how do we do our mesh analysis for a given circuit? We first identify the total number of meshes in that particular circuit, and then we assign a current to each of the mesh, and then we solve KVL equations for each of the mesh. And now using these KVL equations, we can get the mesh current values, and this will give our solution. So we can understand the mesh analysis very better using a practical example. Now here, as you can see in this circuit, we can clearly identify two meshes. Number 1 is this and number 2 is this. So after identifying the mesh, we will assign current values. You can take any direction, but I have taken the clockwise direction for both the meshes. So this is I1, this is I2. Now by directly seeing, you see that for this particular mesh, for this particular loop, this branch is single, independent. So this current value I1 will be flowing through this branch, as you have assumed. But in this branch, you see that this branch is common between mesh 1 and mesh 2. So in this branch, both these current I1 and I2 will be flowing. So you can see that I1 is going in clockwise direction and it will be moving in this branch like this. But I2 is moving in this direction and it will be moving in its common branch like this. So if you want to have the value of current in this 2 ohm branch, you will have to take the difference of I1 and I2. So let's now write the KVL equation for both these meshes. So for mesh 1, the KVL equation, let's start from here. So as we already see, we are having a voltage gain in this direction because of this voltage source, and then drop. We will write 4 minus I1 into 1, since this I1 current is flowing in this direction and 1 ohm is the resistance. Then again minus here, let me clear this clutter first. Now here you see that I1 is going in this direction, but I2 is going in this direction. So you have to take the difference of I1 minus I2 in this direction and multiplied it with 2 ohm, so that the voltage drop will be like this, right? And after you come back to this point, so this will be equal to 0. So you can rewrite this equation as 4 minus I1 minus I1, sorry, 2I1 plus 2I2 is equal to 0, or you can rewrite it as 4 minus 3I1 plus 2I2 is equal to 0. This is your equation number 1. Now, when you write the equations for loop 2, let us start from here. But you can see that there is a current source in loop 2, right? So do we actually need to write KVL equation? No, we don't, because this I2 current is flowing in this direction. So you can directly say that this I2 value must be equal to the opposite of this 2 ampere current, because this 2 ampere current is flowing in this direction, and you know that in any particular branch only one current can flow. So we don't actually need to write KVL equation for second mesh, and we can directly write I2 is equal to minus 2 ampere, right? So this is your equation 2, and you can directly put this equation 2 in equation 1. So it will be 4 minus 3I1 plus 2 into minus 2 is equal to 0, means 4 minus 3I1 minus 4 is equal to 0. 4 से 4 cancel out हो जाएगा. It means I1 is equal to 0. So your answer is that the value of I1 is 0. So this is how you will calculate. In mesh analysis, you will first find out the meshes, then assume a current with a direction, then write the KVL equation, and then solve for the currents. Now let's solve another example using mesh analysis. In this, you see that there are 4 meshes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But if you leave this first mesh, in all the remaining 3 meshes, the current source is directly given. So you don't actually need to write KVL equation for these 3 meshes, because we already have the current values. So we have to write the KVL equation for the first one, and I have assumed the current I1 in clockwise direction. So we will start writing our KVL equation from here, the point A. So you will have plus 10. Then since the current is flowing in this direction, we will have a negative voltage drop, whose value will be 1 into I1. Then now come the important part. Here you see that this current I1 is entering this branch like this, and also this 1 ampere current is entering like this. So what is happening in this branch, this 1 ohm branch? What is happening? This I1 and this 1 ampere current is being added up, because they both are in the same direction. So what you will write is minus I1 plus 1 ampere, this 1 ohm, multiplied by 1. 1 is the resistance value. Okay. And if you move to this section, you will have to write minus. What is happening here? This I1 current is entering this particular branch, this I1 current, but here this 2 ampere current is going in opposite direction. So it is basically opposing the I1 current. So here you have to write it as I1 minus 2 into, what is the resistance value? 1. And now if you move to the last loop, you will see that your I1 is going in this direction, and this 3 ampere current is also adding up, is going in this direction. So here we will have an addition of I1 plus 3 into 1 ohm, and we reached back to A. So it will be equal to 0. Now let's expand it, and we will have 10 minus I1 minus 1 minus I1 plus 2 minus I1 minus 3 is equal to 0, which means how many I1s? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 10 minus 4I1, and how many negative numbers? Minus 3 and minus 1, which will be equal to minus 4, and how many positive? Plus 2 is equal to 0. So upon solving it, we get 10 plus 2, 12, minus 4, 8. 8 minus 4I1 is equal to 0. It means I1 is equal to 8 by 4 is equal to 2 ampere. So in this way, we got the value of I1. So now I think you are getting the idea how to solve circuits using mesh analysis. Now, in a special case of mesh analysis, when there is a current source which is common, which is in the common branch of two meshes, then it will not be possible to write KVL equation in individual meshes like this, because generally the voltage across the current source is not known, right? So to solve such kind of circuits, we will write the KVL equation for a larger mesh, which will comprise these two meshes between which the current source is common, right? So let us see how this works. Uh, as you can see, in this common branch, this current I1 is entering like this, but this current I2 is entering like this. So what will be the value of the difference between this I1 and I2? It should be equal to 2 ampere, which is in the upward direction, right? Because in one branch, only one current can exist. So you can say that I1 minus I2 should be equal to minus 2 ampere, because since I1 is going in the downward direction and 2 ampere is in the upward direction. Or you can say that I2 minus I1 is equal to 2 ampere, right? So now, since we have got the relation between I1 and I2, but this is not sufficient to get the value of I1 and I2 individually, we have to write one more equation, which is a KVL equation, and this equation will be written in this larger loop. Uh, Suppose we will start from here, we will go and we will skip this common 2 ampere current branch and directly go to the next second mesh and then come back here, right? So let's start. 10 volt minus, here you see a drop of I1 into 1, minus, here again you see a drop of this. In this loop the I2 current is flowing, so the drop will be 1 into I2, sorry, this is I1. And here we see a drop of 5 volts, so we will write as minus 5. And again from here we will directly reach our point A back, so it will be equal to 0. So we can say that 10 minus 5 is 5, minus I1 minus I2 is equal to 0, which means I1 plus I2 is equal to 5 volt. This is our equation 2, and this was our equation 1. And now we can easily solve these equations to get our values of I1 is equal to 1.5 ampere, sorry, and I2 is equal to 3.5 ampere. So this is how we apply super mesh technique, in which there is a current source in the common branch of two meshes. Now, nodal analysis is going to be one of the most important techniques for you to find voltage and current in any given circuit. You are not going to use mesh analysis as frequently as you are going to use nodal analysis. So be very careful with it. Uh, in a given circuit, when we have to apply a nodal analysis, we will first identify the number of nodes in that particular circuit. So what is a node? A node is a point where multiple branches of the circuit meet, like here, 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 and here. So once we are completed with identifying the nodes, we will assign one node as reference node or ground node. So here we have assigned this particular node as our reference node, and all the others node we will assign voltage values. Like for this we have assigned V1, for here V2, and for here V3, right? So after we are identifying nodes and after assigning the voltages V1, V2, and V3, what we will do is we will apply KCL rule at all of these nodes to find equations, and then we will solve them to find our voltage and current values. So for example, if we have to uh, calculate KCL at this V1 node, we will, let me write it, KCL at V1 node. So you see that this 3 ampere current is incoming and this Ix current is outgoing, and here also I assume current is outgoing in this direction. So when you see that current is going in this direction, there will be a drop like this, and to calculate this drop we have to subtract the value of V3 from V2. Obviously, the difference between V1 and V1 and V3 is the voltage drop across this 4 ohm resistance. So the value of this current in this particular branch, let me say it as I1. What will be the value of I1? It will be the ratio of voltage across this 4 ohm and 4 ohm value. So we can write it as uh, the KCL at this particular V1 node as 3 ampere current is incoming. So we will write it as -3. I'm just for the convention, I'm taking outgoing current as positive and incoming current as negative. Then this Ix current is going outside, so I will take it as plus Ix. Then this I1 current is going outside, so I will take it as plus I1 is equal to 0, because only 3 branches are meeting at this particular point. So let us convert this I1 and Ix into voltage forms, since we have assigned V1, V2, V3 to all the nodes. So this equation can be also be written as -3 plus, what is the value of Ix? Ix is basically the voltage drop, the ratio of voltage drop between these 2 points, V1 and V2, divided by 2 ohm. Obviously, through Ohm's law. So it will be V1 minus V2 divided by 2. And what will be the value of I1? It will be V1 minus V3 divided by 4 plus V1 minus V3 divided by 4 is equal to 0. So this is going to be your equation 1. Similarly, if you want to write KCL equation at node V2, you will write it as how many currents are coming? One current is incoming, which is Ix, right? And here we have not assigned any current value. So for the convention, since we took Ix for this particular node going outside, let me assume let's go with the same Ix. Okay, so this Ix is incoming to the V2, so we will write it as minus Ix. Since it is incoming, we will take it as negative. Let me write this KCL at V2 node. Okay, and let us assume there is a current which is going outside, and since this is a reference point, its voltage will be equal to 0 or ground, right? So what will be the value of this current? Let us say it as I2, and since it is, we have taken it as outside, outward going, we will take it as plus sign, then it will be I2, and let's take this current and call it as I3. And what will be the sign of this I3? Since it is outside, it will also be positive. I3 is equal to 0. So what is the value of Ix which is coming? Ix is nothing but V1 minus V2 by 2. So we will say at minus of V1 minus V2 by 2. And what is the value of I2? Obviously V2 minus 0. 0 is the ground voltage, plus V2 minus 0 upon how much? 4. And what is the value of I3? Obviously V2 minus V3 by 8 plus V2 minus V3 by 8 is equal to 0. This is your equation number 2. And now let us calculate KCL at V3 node. Right. So you see there is a current going outside whose value is not absolute. It is basically depending on this particular current Ix. So let me tell you about dependent sources for a while. Uh, wait, wait a minute. So as the normal current and voltage sources are written uh, in circular diagram, like if you want to write a current source which is normal, it will be written in circular shape like this. But if this current source is dependent on some other value in a particular circuit, then it will be written in a box like this, a diamond box. This is called a diamond box. Similarly, for a dependent voltage source, you will be using a diamond box like this, right? So here in our question, if you see, this particular current source which is directed downwards is dependent on this value Ix, which is flowing in this particular branch. So now we are back to the KCL equation. We will directly write, since this is going outward, this 2x value will be 2Ix value will be positive. And then what is the other current? This other current is I3, right? We already assumed I3, and since this I3 is in this direction, it is coming inward towards this V3 point. So we will take it as minus I3. And what is the other current? The other branch is this one. And we already assumed it as I1, which is also coming inward towards V3. So this also we will be taking as negative I1, and it will be equal to 0, since only 3 branches are coming. So we can write it again in the form of voltages. So it will be 2. What is the value of Ix? We already see the value of Ix is V1 minus V2 by 2. Minus, what is the value of I3? It is V2 minus V3 by 8. And then what is the value of I1? It is V1 minus V3 by 4 equal to 0. This is your equation number 3. So from equation 1, 2 and 3, you can see that there are 3 variables V1, V2 and V3 in all these 3 equations, and you have 3 equations. So with 3 variables and 3 equations, you can directly solve it. And I'm just writing the answers directly. You can check at home that the answers will be V1 is equal to 4.8 volt, V2 will be equal to 2.4 volt, and V3 will be equal to minus 2.4 volt. So this is how your nodal analysis works. Now, there is a special case while solving in nodal analysis technique when there comes an ideal voltage source between two non-reference nodes. Like here in this example, you can see that between V1 and V3, there is an ideal voltage source. So what happens is, since there is no resistance in series with this ideal voltage source, it will not be possible to find the current values flowing through this particular source. So what we do is, we assume a super node, which is a combination of these nodes V1 and V3, between which this ideal voltage source is, and solve our KCL equation for these combination of two nodes at the same time. So let us begin with this super node, and the combination of this V3 and V1 is called super node. So let's begin our KCL with this super node V1 and V3. So the equation will be here, as you can see, I will I will by default assume current to be moving outward, here outward, and obviously we will not go to this branch and we will directly go to this branch. Here also I will assume my current moving outward, and here also outward. So we will directly write the current equations, and this is the reference node. So at V1 we will have V1 minus 0, 0 is the reference value, divided by 4, plus V1 minus this V2, which is the second current, divided by 2. And now we will move to the V3 node directly, and which is in combination with V1 is called the super node. So here also, since I have taken both the currents in outward direction, I will take the positive sign as V3 minus V2 divided by 2 in this direction, and then in here we will have V3 minus 0 divided by 8 equal to 0. So this will be our equation 1. Now we can write our KCL equation at here at V2 again. So here also I will take this current direction as outside, and this, since this current is inside, we have no option but to write it as negative. So we will start with this one at V2 node, KCL at V2. So what we will have is, we will have minus 5 since it is inward to V2, plus V2 minus V1 divided by 2, this particular current, and then for this particular current we will write as V2 minus V3 divided by 2 will be equal to 0. Now this is your equation number 2. So as you can see, in equation number 1 and 2 we have three variables, V1, V2 and V3, and till now we have got only two equations. So you, from the basic knowledge of math, you know that for solving for three variables you must know at least three equations. So where will this third equation will come from? It will come from this common voltage which is between V1 and V3. You see that, let me clear the clutter first so that it will be clear for you. So you see that this positive direction of this 10 volt is here and negative direction is here. So definitely the difference between V1 and V3 will be equal to 10 volt. So our third equation will be V1 minus V3 is equal to 10 volt, and this will give our third equation. Now from three equations and three variables, we can very easily calculate the value of V1, V2 and V3, and the values will be V1 is equal to 16.67 volt, V2 will be equal to also be 16.67 volt, and V3 will be 6.67 volt. So you can check these values at home later. So this is how we solve our super node technique. Now, before we close this video, let's solve a few examples so as to clear our some basic concepts of network theory. Here in this circuit, we have to find the equivalent inductance value between these A and B points. So this circuit can seem to you very complex, but actually it is very easy. And to solve it, what method I apply is, I first write all the nodes. I give a particular name to all the nodes, and then it will become easy for us to solve. So here this A node, you can see that it is short circuit, and it goes all the way from here to here. So all these points are nothing but A. Similarly here, all these points are nothing but B. Here you can see there is also a node, we will call it as C, and this node we will call it as D. So let us remake this circuit by using these four nodes, A, B, C and D. So can you tell me what are the elements between A and C? So this is A point and this is C point, and you can see this is also A and this is also A. So we have L, 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 three L's between A point and C point. So directly you can see that you can draw one L, 2L and 3L between A and C. So these three are done. Now, can you tell me what are the elements between C and D? Here, C and D. you can only see only one inductance value is between C and D. So you can connect this inductance value L between C and D. And remember, all these values are L. Now, what are the values between D and B? So similar to C and A, there are three L's in parallel between D and B also. So here also we will draw this circuit as like this. So this is A, this is B, and these are three L's. So you know that like resistance, if three inductance are in parallel, their value will become L by 3, and then there is one more L in between, and then here also this will also become L by 3. This is A and this is B. So now it is a very simple series combination of three inductant values, and what will be the value? It will be the summation of these three. So what will be the value of L equivalent? L plus L by 3 plus L by 3, which means L plus 2L by 3, which means 5L by 3. So this is your final answer. So what I mean to say is, this is just an example. Even if you have some complex circuit of capacitances or resistances or further inductances, you just identify the nodes and connect the elements between those nodes. So you will definitely get some simpler circuit than what is given in the main question. I think I did a little mistake here. I just forgot to connect this particular inductance between A and B here. So I have to connect one more inductance between this A point and this B point here. So the final combination will be like this. So this is L. So finally, we will have something like this. So this we have already calculated this value as 5L by 3, and this value is obviously L, and these are your points as A and B. So the final L equivalent will be, let us call this as L equivalent dash. So our final L equivalent will be the parallel combination of L and 5L by 3. So it will come at about 5L by 8. So this is your final answer. Now here in this example, we have to calculate the value of I. So similarly in the previous case, we will first see the nodes in this particular circuit. So we see this particular one node B and this node as A. The same A node is here also and here also. So to simplify this circuit, what we will do is, first we will take this node A and we will take this another node as B and draw all the elements which are in between them. So between A and B, you can very clearly see there is a 2 ohm resistance, and the current I is flowing from B to A. Now here if you see, this 3 ampere is between A and B and it is directed towards A. So you can directly draw a current source which is directed towards A from B, and its value is 3 ampere. Similarly, another current source is there here, 6 ampere, and this also is from going from B to A. So there will also be one more current of 6 ampere value going from B to A. Now what we are left with is that between B, this point is also B, and between A there is a 3 ohm resistance, and between B and between A there is also a 6 ohm resistance. So we will connect two more resistances between A and B. One is 3 ohm and another is 6 ohm. So now I think the circuit looks a bit simpler than this one to understand. And if you see at this particular node, and if we apply our KCL rule at A, so what we will get is, um, let us call this particular voltage as VA, right? So what we will get as, let us assume that there is a current going in this direction, and there is a current going in this direction, and all other currents are coming inside towards A. So we can directly write our KCL as VA divided by 6 for this particular branch, and plus for this branch, 3 ohm branch, we will write it as VA divided by 3. And since all other currents are coming inside, we will write it as minus 6 minus I minus 3 is equal to 0. So from here, we can write it as uh, 3 VA divided by 18 minus 9 minus I is equal to 0. Sorry, this value will be actually 6. So what we will get is VA by 2 minus 9 minus I is equal to 0. This is your equation 1. But since we have got only one equation, and uh, we have two variables as I and VA, we must find another relationship. So this relationship can be found from here in this branch. You can say that this voltage VA minus 0, this ground voltage, I'm taking V as our reference point, divided by this 2 ohm should be equal to minus I. Why minus I? Because this I current is incoming, and when we calculate VA minus 0 by 2, which means this voltage VA minus 0 by 2, it means we are assuming this current to be in this direction, right? So this VA minus 0 by 2 should be taken as minus I. So you can say that I is equal to minus VA by 2. Or also in opposite term, you can say that VA is equal to minus 2I. So what you can do is, you can put this value in equation here, and you can directly get the value of I. So from here we can write as, if we put the value of VA as minus 2I in this equation, we get minus 2I by 2 minus 9 minus I is equal to 0. Solving this, we will get I as minus 4.5 ampere. So this is our answer. Now we have another very interesting example. Here you can see a combination of resistances of 1 ohm and going infinitely. So we have to find equivalent resistance between the nodes A and B. So how to solve it? You can see that this particular arrangement of resistance is getting repeated every time, right? This thing is getting repeated every time, and it is, since it is going infinitely, you can say that the value of R equivalent here will same as the value of R equivalent here, because infinity minus one particular circuit is also an infinity. So in this way, you can say that if this is R equivalent, this value will also be R equivalent, right? So what you can draw from this circuit is like this. Draw only the first repeating part, and all the other part can be replaced with R equivalent. So this is your A, B point, and here you want to find R equivalent, and this is your 1 ohm. So now you can easily solve the circuit. So this is the parallel combination of 1 and R equivalent, and this can have, let me call it as R dash, and R dash will have the value of R equivalent into 1 upon 1 plus R equivalent, and this whole combination will be in series with this 1 ohm resistance. So finally we can say that R equivalent is equal to 1 plus R equivalent upon 1 plus R equivalent. So after rearranging this, we will get a quadratic equation whose value will be R equivalent square minus R equivalent minus 1 is equal to 0. So when you solve this quadratic equation, you will get R equivalent is equal to 1 plus under root 5. Actually, it will come as 1 plus minus under root 5 by 2. But since if we take minus value, the resistance will be coming in negative. So we will take only the positive case. So our answer is 1 plus root 5 by 2. Now let's end this lecture with a good homework question. Uh, the question is fully charged mobile phone is giving total talk time for 10 minutes, and the battery delivers a constant 2 ampere current during this talk time. Now the voltage characteristic of the battery is shown in the figure. Here you can see that this is the time scale and this is the voltage scale, and the voltage output of the battery of this particular smartphone or phone drops from 12 volt to 10 volt during this talk time period of 10 minutes. So you have to find the total energy of the battery during the talk time. So I must give you a hint that power was voltage into current and energy was integration of power with respect to time, right? For the time of your calculation. So using this formula, you try to calculate the value of total energy of the battery, and this will be your homework. And thank you very much for listening to this lecture.